Activate your energy.
Welcome to the Activated Authors Podcast, a show where we distill the core principles of what it takes to become a happy, healthy, and productive author, no matter what stage of the journey you're at. I'm your host, Daniel Willcocks. I'm an international best-selling author, as well as an author coach, speaker, and creative entrepreneur. But most importantly, I'm a lifelong student of all things productivity, psychology, and human behaviour. Thank you for joining me for today's episode. Without further ado, let's dive in. What is up, Activators? Welcome back to another episode of the Activated on this podcast.
No, what? Do it again. Better.
No, I'm Daniel Willcocks, and here with me every single week is Samantha Frost. Hi, Sam. How's it going?
Apparently, I've lost the autonomy and ability to say my own name. But apart from that, it's good. How's it going with you?
Who are you?
I don't know.
I'm doing well.
Are you?
Yes.
Cool. You're doing as well as I am.
Yes.
Awesome.
Do we do the how you doing thing, or do we just skip straight into the... I think we kind of have to address a little bit now, otherwise it's going to feel unsatisfying. I am in the throes of quite a lot of personal bullshit, which is very, very, I guess, timely with this episode, considering what we decided we're going to name it. But yeah, it's a ongoing journey, and it's hard, man. Like there's no way to kind of like cloak it. Like things are very, very difficult at the minute. Like we talk a lot about how your personal life and your business life and everything else has to be in not balance. The word balance is wrong here. Congruent, I guess. And
Don't mind if you do.
I don't mind if I do it. And at the minute, the personal side of things is taking up a lot of energy, which has meant kind of really trying to be kind to myself, put down the things that aren't 100% vital, and focus on the things that need my attention. And in some ways they're positive, in other ways they're very, very not. It's all very, very draining. I'm not going to go into specifics of it on the podcast, but yeah, that's kind of where I am. I'm trying to swim.
Yeah.
Man, it has been a year, Sam. I mean, more than a year, but 2023 has been a total upfuckery, and I am proud of how I'm dealing with it.
I'm very proud of how you're dealing with it.
Compared to, you know, how things have been in the past, and the ways that I've dealt with things have been just to work harder and grind harder and all that kind of stuff. And mentally, I'm in a fairly solid place, but it is just very, very tiring at the minute. And I'm trying to remind myself of, you know, the reasons why things are happening, the important things I need to focus on. And, you know, as much as we've always got things that we want to be doing.
Yes.
And we can't always get to those things.
Until we are given the opportunity to do them, and then we go on our phones. But yes, I agree.
Exactly. Oh, yes. So that's where I'm at. How about you, Sam?
Well, Daniel, I'm having a full existential crisis. That's where I'm at. I'm sat in the cosmos of, is this the real life? Is this just fantasy? I don't know what the fuck is going on anymore. My body is still not working. More tests have been had. They still can't find anything.
And what they can find, they fuck up.
What they can find, they fuck up. We have now thoroughly ruled out my vagina as the source of my pain. Which, I mean, there's a first time for everything, because most of my life, that bitch has got. That's
got to be a great name for an autobiography. My vagina is not the source of my pain.
For this once.
Uh-huh.
She's made many bad decisions in the past.
This is a writing podcast, guys. Welcome. If this is your first time listening to it, it doesn't all sound like this. We do get into some writing craft stuff, but for now, we shall carry on with Sam's vagina.
Look, at least she's not taking the mic. I love that I'm giving her its own personality.
Stop.
Dan's dying. Yeah, no, I had a CT scan, and I also had a plethora of ultrasounds, one of which is the internal ultrasound. They call it a transvaginal ultrasound, which I just wish they would like call it what it is, so you know what you're going in for. Like, this is a up the one.
And up the
This is
one.
an up the one scan. We're
Yeah.
shoving it. And yeah,
I'm here for my up the one.
yeah, I'm here for my up the one. What's your name, please? And yeah, like they both like ruled out things like hernias, all that kind of stuff, which like
All right.
a lot of the time you very much don't think it's that, but they have to like rule it out so they can do other tests. You know, it's a checklist of stuff they have to say it's not that before they get onto other things. And my CT scan was like, yeah, all her organs are, the word they used was unremarkable, and it really pissed me off. How dare you?
Have you met my organs?
Right. And my left ovary was noted as prominent with a large cyst within it. And but that can be quite normal because ovaries change size during a woman's cycle, and like cysts are often a way that like eggs are released, all that kind of stuff. So it's like, unless it gets infected or anything like that, it's not a problem. And on my ultrasound, my left ovary was apparently fine, but my right ovary was enlarged with I can't remember what they said. I think it was a follicle noted within it, which just means that's where my egg's coming from next time. But the fun part is, these scans were a day apart. So one of the technicians doesn't know the left from the right, because I cannot imagine that within a day, like an accordion, my ovaries have been like, all this to say, none of that is relevant to the pain, but yet another thing that pissed me off. That's got nothing to do with my existential crisis. I already knew that the technicians were shit. I'm just trying to figure out who I am, what I want, and why am I 37? What's the pain? Why can't I do anything? And what is life?
And what have you determined so far?
I'm 37 because I was born in 86.
Yeah, that is maths.
Yeah.
It's a journey, man.
That's about where I'm at. But yeah, I'm trying. Like, I am just, yeah, it's, my mental health is not great.
Yeah. Although I did mention on last week's podcast that we went off to the medieval festival and had a whale of a time.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, we did.
That was pretty badass.
Absolutely loved his life for that day.
Yeah, I made accidental chainmail on Bailey, even though it wasn't planned. He just happened to wear a grey hoodie, and it worked very, very well.
Yeah, because my insomnia was like, make him a tabard on the sewing machine.
Done.
And then the hoodie was wearing was great. Yeah, it was. Yeah. It was a very happy accident.
It was very, very good. But what is something that you've enjoyed this week, Sam?
Well, I mean, this was a couple of weeks ago, but as like we've been
week
sporadic, and I'm still enjoying it, is because of my health and everything. I have put on a considerable amount of weight because I'm not moving around a lot at all, and I'm not eating very well because I'm feeling sorry for myself constantly. So I'm consuming packets of cookies, like that's a meal requirement. And as a result, I've been feeling very uncomfortable in my body and my skin, and a lot of my clothes like have not been fitting very well. And like, if this was a couple of years ago, I would be feeling very guilty about the fact that my clothes don't fit and all the rest of it. But I would refuse to buy anything to make myself more comfortable, because I was told as a child, like, if you put on weight, don't buy the next size up, because that's just giving yourself permission to get fat, which is, you know, horrendous, because it doesn't matter what size you are a human being, and you're entitled to be comfortable and feel fabulous. But of course, when I was a child, that was not that was not a widely held opinion. But yeah, went to Primark, didn't we? And I got some men's t-shirts and some men's boxer shorts. And obviously I'm not wearing them at the moment because I'm in my uniform, but I have been living in them things, and my God, comfy.
Yeah.
That's what I've enjoyed, just allowing my body to be the size it is, and wearing things that don't make me feel like a loosely held sneeze in a sausage skin.
Well, it comes back to being kind to yourself, doesn't it? I mean,
Yeah.
like you can still want to better yourself, but accept the work needs to be done while allowing yourself to be comfortable. Because I've got a bunch of shirts in my drawer that I had a couple of years ago that don't fit for multiple reasons. I've got a bit bigger, my shoulders have got bigger, and when you're wearing something that's super tight and restrictive, like it's just a constant reminder all day that
it doesn't feel good.
It doesn't look good, it doesn't feel good.
Unless like you're wearing something that is supposed to be tight and you're comfortable and confident in your body, in which case you feel awesome. I've worn many a bodycon dress and be like, yes, I am that bitch. But at the moment, I don't feel that way about myself. So I don't want to be like, oh.
Yeah, my socks are skin tight. Just saying, I am so proud of my feet.
Right, I was like, you do know they're supposed to be. I didn't know where that was going for a second.
You never worn baggy socks? That sounds horrible.
Oh no! Yeah. Why would anyone wear baggy socks? No.
Yeah, I got nothing anyway.
Cool. Moving on. What's a win this week? No, what have you enjoyed this week, Dan? Because you matter too.
Wow. Wonderful. So I had a thing, and it's totally slipped. It's been a very go week. I've enjoyed having Bailey for quite a considerable amount of summer holidays and spending time with him. That's been wonderful. And I think the thing that I'm enjoying the most at the minute is that I've roped myself into playing quite a chunk of Minecraft, and I found ways to play online with other people.
Yeah,
which means I've got like a small community going of close people that I play with, and it's a good way just to get a bit of like downtime and just unwind. Know what I mean? It's good. It's a very simple game, but it's challenging, and you can craft. It's good.
All before you play Minecraft, it's not like a game that I particularly enjoy, but like, you know me, I love it when someone loves something and is passionate about something. It doesn't matter whether I like it or not. It makes me happy just to see them do that thing. But what I'm loving is your choice of words on I've got a small community of close people that I play with.
Yeah. Translated, Miles and Bailey.
Your son and my son.
Yes. But it's nice because it's like a way to connect and to play, and like because it's all
he gets so happy when he sees your little name pop. It's like, down to the line.
Yeah, and because it's all contributing together, like, I'm not going to go into specifics of Minecraft for people that don't know how to play it. Just think like digital Lego. It's quite good. But yeah, it's something that's entertaining me at the minute. So that's what I got.
Nice.
Our win from the community this week goes to the wonderful Sarah Louise.
Lovely.
Yeah, it says, does not throwing my laptop out of the window in frustration count as a weekly win?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, it does.
Yeah. Apparently there was website issues. So she said, I feel that was an achievement in itself.
The amount of times that it feels like the universe has decided that it's picking on you today.
Don't.
Like, and it's part of the human condition, isn't it? We are like narcissistic beings. We're aware that like there's like 7-8 billion people in the world. I mean, you can't hold that number in your head, obviously, but yet still but because we're like in our heads, we only see things through our own lens, unless we specifically make the choice to try and see through other people's eyes and all the rest of it. But as a default, especially when you're having a bad day, it does feel like the universe has gone, do you know what? Everyone else have a day off. You bitch.
Yeah, you're on. The eye of Sauron has moved.
Yeah. And in those moments, it is absolutely a win to not like punch a wall, run over a child, or throw a laptop out the window.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think it was like one evening last week, I had just a night where I was like, I'm just going to chill. Like, I'm just going to do something that I want to do. So I sat down and I started to do some stuff on the computer.
Yeah. Hey, how did that go for you?
I spent 20 minutes dealing with customer service.
Yeah.
To finding everything loading incredibly slowly. And if I wasn't already on a stoic kick, I might have punched my computer in the face.
Your computer has a face.
Yeah. The face. The computer
Oh,
face.
cool.
The
Oh,
face.
yeah, the face. Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, the computer face.
Yeah, yeah. There we go. That commonly held phrase, the face of my computer.
Yeah, it's on the face.
Yeah, on the
Just
face
look at
of
the
it.
face.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm with you. Watches got face. Why can't computers?
So Sarah, well done.
Well done, Sarah.
You
But
didn't
not throwing
smash your
rabbits out the
computer's
window.
face. Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Into this week's question.
Okay, so my question is, how do I break through my own bullshit?
Context, go.
No, go. No, joking.
A very hard chisel.
Yeah, I've been sat in it in a while. It is calcified. No, so I mean, obviously this can kind of apply to any situation or kind of like pattern that you have that you've noticed kind of coming around again and again. But for me specifically, it's how do I break through the bullshit that I tell myself about actually publishing a book, about actually, like, once I have created something, then taking the next steps. Because I have noticed a lot that since I kind of joined, well, back in boot camp, that like my rate of finishing things has gone down considerably, because the second I signed up for that, it felt more official. And so the way I'm clearly protecting myself from making it scary is by not actually finishing stuff. So because if it's not finished, it can't go out there. And obviously, you know, like, disclaimer, yes, I've been very ill. Yes, my mental health is a big part of it. But at the same time, there are times where I do have good days, and there are, you know, it doesn't, you don't have to do it all at once. I could find little moments here and there to keep pushing forward. And I find it extremely difficult to take those steps. It feels almost like that's a thing for other people. And it's the same as when I was an actor. It feels very much like there's safety in being a big fish in a small pond. So there's safety in like being around my friends and family that don't write and don't act and don't create like stuff to be consumed by people. There's safety in showing them things and then being like, oh, aren't you clever? But then, you know, I'm like, well, yeah, because they're going to think that because they don't do these things. But the second, obviously, you put stuff out into the wider world, it's no longer like, aren't you clever? You are a tiny, tiny fish in a galaxy ocean. That makes sense?
Yeah.
So yeah, like for me, that's my bullshit at the minute. And I don't even know if I've described it properly. That's kind of the best that I've got in me at the moment as to kind of
where it's at.
give context of.
Yeah, I think, you know, it's worth saying this, and I mean this with all the positivity and all the love. Like, you do work quite differently to the mainstream.
Yes.
Yeah, I think we can kind of accept that. Like, you are very creatively fueled. You love your emotions come out a lot in your art, and you're very sort of led where your passions go, which is a blessing and a curse depending how you look at it. I think one of the points that you brought up that I do think is very, very prevalent is, I know we speak a lot about joining communities and having all the people support you. When I was first publishing my first book, I didn't have any community. I just did it all myself. I did it because that was what I wanted to do, and that was the only lens I had. And so sometimes there is a danger if you're going into big communities too soon and you're seeing all these success stories and you're seeing all these people do things in a certain way, there's suddenly a pressure inside you to go, this is what I have to do. If I'm to get the results that they're doing, I have to follow the steps that they're going through to do that thing. And again, I mean this with no disrespect at all, like, it works for people, but it was one of the reasons that I stopped following the 20 books to 50k Facebook group, because I was, you know, at the time I was earning maybe a few £100s a month through fiction. I had my own schedule that was working for me. And then every time I went on there, I was seeing people make, you know, 300 grand in a month and all this kind of stuff. And it really can obscure and cloud your vision, because you're immediately going from what do I want, what am I capable of, and what are my goals, into, okay, if I want that, I have to do it this way. So like I can fully understand, how the environment that activated authors facilitate sometimes doesn't work for you, because you are multi-passionate, you have all these different things going in different directions. And I think with things like publishing, there's a lot of useful information for how to publish a book, how to get into the draft. Obviously when you joined was boot camp, and it was all about getting that draft down, but it's not for everyone in that particular way, and it can cloud your motivations, your passions, and how you work. All that said, overcoming your bullshit it's hard. It's a real tricky thing to do, because if the obstacle wasn't there, or if you could overcome it, it wouldn't be a problem.
Yeah.
But like you say, it's kind of been a few years of, and I think I pointed this out to you, like creating, you're fantastic at just getting the thing down, getting it done, like first drafts, bam, finished, like you've done that thing. And then once you've created the work, it is then moving it into, okay, this is no longer just for me. I'm now considering what this looks like in the eyes of other people. One way that I used to overcome that, and I've veered off a little bit, but that's by the by. One of the ways I used to look at that is anything that I wrote was for me. Like it really, like I didn't have expectations of putting it out into the market and making a crap load of money. Like, would that be nice? Yes, but I've always tried to center myself on the reassurance. If I've done everything that I can to the book that I'm happy with, then I don't care about the negative reviews, because they're often given by people that would never put in this work and would never put themselves out there in the way that I have. The positive reviews, even those, I'm like, cool, like it found the right people, but like I'm the one who's still winning here because I've finished the thing that I set out to do. And so there's the imposter syndrome side of it, of who am I to put the stuff out there. There's the confidence side of, like you say, suddenly putting yourself under the light of being judged. But then there's also often a phase as well of almost overwhelming yourself with different projects, because to publish is a big thing. And I think that is something that I definitely forget on a regular basis. I think it's something that we can take for granted, especially a lot of people in the author community who have published a fair few books and are teaching people that haven't yet published. It is a big project, and it's a big thing, and you've got so many different stages of it if you want to create a quality product that you can put out there and be proud of. And so reminding yourself that it is a big thing. And so if you have, because I was quite similar early on, but I've known people who haven't yet published a book that are like, I've got already like 5 different series planned out, I've got this, and it's like, just finish the one. The reason I started with a novella that was 16,000 words was because, well, that wasn't even my first one. My first book that I published was the stage play, and that was something I'd already reworked. So all I was doing with that was formatting it and seeing if I could publish. And then when it came to write my first piece of fiction, I started what I believed to be quite small. It was 16,000 words. And so that's very, very different to a novel. Once I published, so let me do a little timeline just to kind of put perspective in here. The first book I ever published was, I would probably say, the beginning of 2015, and that was a play. Over the course of 2015, I reworked the 16,000 word book and published that in the October. So that's a good 8-9 months of working on a small book that I had no expectations of. I didn't know anything about the world of indie publishing. I just knew that I wanted a book on my shelf. 9 months. So the only pressure I had was mine. Can I get this into my house? Done. After that, 2015, the next book I published wasn't until I believe it was early or mid 2017 was They Rot that I published with Luke. And that book was working with someone. So I had someone there to metaphorically hold my hand and like buoy each other along. We were excited. We had that passion because we were doing it together. But the whole production of that book, that ended up being about, I think, 55,000 words, so a small novel, arguably, was a good year and a half. And that was after already publishing a small book and after already knowing how to publish. So all in all, to get from that first publishing experience to getting my first novel out in the world was 2.5, 3 years.
Yeah.
And then once that first novel came out, it was another year until the next one, and then they started increasing. So the timescales, I think when you're first learning all the craft, again, like a lot of what we see are people that have been honing their craft and publishing and doing their thing and doing the thing, and they have that confidence built already. But like the point of your question is, how do you get that first start? How do you overcome to the point that you've gone, okay, I've finally got something out into the world. I've got the first. Because mentally, once the first is done, a lot of the pressure goes. Not all of it.
That's my thinking.
Because I've got a friend of mine who I met a few months ago is just about to release his first published book through traditional publishing. All the promotion's going very well. It's getting a lot of like repute. It's a fantastic book. I've been reading through it myself, and he's now working on his second book. And we were in a conversation the other day, and he was having some troubles there. And sometimes the second book if the first book hits critical success, the second book is very
difficult,
very
second album syndrome.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Whereas, if you put a first book out and that's just for you, which is what I did, then every book there is just an incremental improvement. So I'm going to take a bit of a break just because I know I've been speaking a lot. Has anything come up there that you want to push on or ask or expand on? Or
yeah, so I think like as you were talking, a lot of the things you were saying like resonated, but also like how to say it, like I feel like, because I said this to you, like before I joined boot camp, like I was quite happy sat on my bed, like going through slowly like hero's journey and just trying to formalize my understanding of story structure and kind of that kind of stuff, because I have like not even it, I guess it is more intuition really, just because I've been telling stories for a long time one way or another because of like being an actor, and I've written like things for my family and that kind of stuff, so like I do understand like act structures and things like that, but I was like, this is a big thing, and for me I want to know that I know what it is. And then I do think that I put myself obviously on a big timeline for getting that first draft and book done, but I guess like I've been put on a bit of, well, not even put, like I feel like I've been dropped on a conveyor belt, and I'm it's moving too fast for me. And I don't know how much of that is because I'm allowing myself to get swept away in other people's processes, in other people's goals. How much of that is just like plain fear of doing something and putting it out there, and how much of that is just genuine intuition on, well, I do want to go back and do this again, and it's not because I'm like it'll never be ready. I just don't feel it is ready, and and it feels like no matter what alley I try and turn down, it doesn't feel quite right.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think like there's definitely overwhelm in there, and it's muddying the waters of like of me understanding what's what, because there gets to a point, and like for example with the poetry stuff, again, yes, like I've been very very not well since April, but there is something, and I think it's like a big anxiety trigger for me, where like I understand what it is to sit down by myself and write, and sit down by myself and paint and draw, and that thing to me is a familiar thing. Even when I'm starting like a new avenue of creativity, for example, using my sewing machine to make a tabard for the first time, there's still a comfort in there because it's just me on my own figuring stuff out, and I enjoy that. But then when it gets into like the publishing side of things, there's definitely like a big level of unknown. I don't understand the steps even when someone explains them to me, because I've not done them before. It's like I find it very difficult to go into like a new restaurant that I've never been in before.
Yeah.
Like I can't be the first one in because it makes me feel like so uncomfortable. I immediately want to turn around and leave. and there is definitely a layer of that as well. So there's all these different things that are going on. And also there's just that voice in me that's like, you're just making excuses. And it's
Well,
yeah.
So one of the things I hope you don't mind me sharing,
I guess we're going to find out.
so if there's a sudden cut in the audio, that's why we're back now. No, so one of the things that I know that you've kind of spoken about before is there is an internal need for validation. Your locus of validation is external rather than internal, and
Big time.
I think this is very, very important for people listening to this podcast, people who are potentially exploring self-publishing, is maybe self-publishing isn't necessarily for you, or maybe it's not for you solo. Yeah. And what I mean by that is, if you are the type of person who is creative and loves pouring the juice into the project and shaping it and getting it as best as they can, but then suddenly is hit with this fear, it can be one of two things. Like you say, it's either the fear that you can push through to overcome to learn the things that you don't know, to be able to go through that process to do it, or it might just be a case of you need to find another way to get your book published. So, you know, self-publishing we talk about a lot. It's not the only avenue. We know this. Like, you know, there are agents, there are publishers, there are small presses. There's lots of different places where you could send your book and just cast off all of that stuff that you don't need, because that way you have someone from the minute they say they're going to publish it, you've got that confirmation they're going to champion your work. Hopefully, you know, you got to still be careful about who you pick and do your research from your side. Or even, you know, you could pick a collaborative partner who would handle the publishing side for you, and then you give them the book and they go and do all the business admin side of stuff. Like, there are lots of different ways to do it. And I think as well, one of the hardest things, not even just about being an author, but about being a creative, is anytime you start something, you have no idea what it's going to do. Like, the only thing you can control is obviously the creation of the art. And the only way that you can guide whether or not, because I constantly have a flurry of projects that I'm like, oh, I'm excited by this, but I can't do this yet. I can't do this yet. And you can either let yourself be guided by your emotions and your heart and the things that you want to do, the things that bring you fulfillment, or you can guide yourself by the data. And what I mean by that is, you know, what is, you like, you can go through trending things. If you've already published a few books, like, is it, if you've published 6 books and you're reaping a lot of money because people are buying through a series, is it then suited to your goals to then do something that's a bit more for yourself? Maybe, maybe not. Like, it's not up to me to make a decision for you. But, and it's hilarious for people who aren't watching on YouTube, Sam's face as I said the word data was a masterpiece. Because, and I know why, it's because it's like, it's quite a harsh business term. And one of the things that I try and get across to people, like, business does a good way of masking itself as this elevated, profound thing that is, like, it can be very corporate, and the people that speak the corporate language are fucking assholes. And like, half the time, like, when I was in the corporate world, I'd sit in meetings and I'd be like, can't we just speak this in plain English? Like there are just more accessible ways to say things. Data is literally just information. Like, it's just literally like looking at a map and going, okay, this way has traffic and this way doesn't.
Yeah, so I'm gonna it leaves me cold, that stuff.
So then potentially, you know, the options there are, do you work through overcoming what is a mental barrier and trying to understand more of that kind of stuff, which, you know, takes a lot of self-work, takes a lot of like research, understanding. Do you then push through and hustle through trying to learn all the publishing side of stuff? Or do you look at yourself as an artist and go, I'm going to create art, and then I'm going to try and put that out into the world and give that to people who are potentially better suited to put stuff out for me? I don't think that's something we've ever like spoken about with you, because I know that, you know, from my side of things, I'm very, very sort of self-published and do a lot of stuff, put stuff out myself, but it's a potential consideration. And I think, you know, it is, as I say, very, very relevant to a lot of people listening to this podcast, that self-publishing isn't for everybody.
Sorry, I just realized what my face was doing, so I've reset it.
But yeah, no, I think it's a hefty question. You know, because you're looking at mindset, you're looking at processes, you're looking at a lot of what your goals and your sort of vision is for what you want. I think when I'm overwhelmed, one of the things that I do is just sit down and write all the things I'm working on, and then really try to be critical about what my big goal is. And so one of the things that I have done over the last few weeks is really taking a step back from a lot of like my collaborations. I shut down one of the arms of my business because they weren't bringing me closer to my goal, which is a very personal goal at the minute. It's got nothing to do with business or anything like that. But I've had to take those steps to focus and accept that this is kind of the season of my life that I'm in.
Yeah.
It's a lot to think about.
Yeah.
I think we'll be having a conversation off air.
Yeah, I've got a lot of shifting. There's a lot of questions I have coming off that. Like, for example, what happens if your main goal keeps shifting and you don't really know what it is? But, you know,
Yeah.
that's for another time.
Yeah. Because I feel like that could be quite a deep question.
Yeah. And like, you know, what if you constantly in any books that you read about self-improvement say that it says that and I'm paraphrasing here, to kind of get anywhere in regards to success, you can't be ruled by emotions. You have to do the things no matter how you feel. And like what happens when like that is something that isn't a physical possibility for you because of how your brain works. And yeah, it's just, there's a lot, existential crisis. There's a lot going on in my head at the minute with that kind of stuff. But yeah, there we go. That's what I got.
Yeah.
I hope it helps someone. Because
yeah, I mean,
I'm still.
Yes, it's oh, excuse me. It's one of those things where I'm loath to get too into certain parts of the conversation because they're going to be more focused and prevalent for you.
Yeah. There's no like we can have that conversation. Like this isn't the Let's Help Sam podcast.
No.
I mean, maybe it should be.
Oh.
Whoa.
That's what I'm saying.
I've got an idea. I've killed Dan. Well, at least I'm not talking about my vagina anymore.
We can call it insanity. But I think just, you know, pulling together a kind of rounding off of this, like there's a lot there to think about, because, you know, mental blocks are always going to get in the way of publishing. There's a reason that the percentages of people who finish a book are so low, and even then the people that publish a book are so low. And a reminder always is the more you get into these kind of communities, the more of these kind of podcasts and everything else, it begins to feel like you're surrounded by authors, but we really are a small percentage of people in the world.
Yeah.
It can be very, very noisy, but again, like you walk out the front door, try and find an author, it will take you some time unless you live near me. But ultimately, when it comes to overcoming the stuff that is holding you back, talking out stuff like this, even better if you do it on air and publish it for people to see. No, you don't have to. But finding
what you need to do is you just need to like just long game. Eventually get yourself in a position where you're running a podcast, and then just slowly turn it to be a complete exercise in narcissism.
Yes.
That's what I'm doing.
But yeah, talk to, you know, close friends about it. It's better if you can talk to someone who is potentially in the space that you're worried or concerned about. I recently joined / helped put together a mastermind for horror writers at a sort of, and I don't mean it's potentially, but like around my level, because obviously a lot of advice is aimed at like new authors, and I needed some like people to elevate me in like a certain space of the game. But finding groups like that can be very, very useful. Taking the time to really sit and look in the mirror, and I haven't specifically labored on this point because I say it all the time and I wanted to kind of like talk around it, but knowing why you're doing it is huge. If you can understand, you know, what it is that you do want out of it, whether that is just to enjoy the process and have other people enjoy it, whether it's finance, whether it's legacy, there's lots of different reasons that people create and publish. You know, a lot of people do it for education. Like I knew a guy at some workshop I went to that wrote what was considerably the shittest book I ever saw, but he wanted to hand it out for free at the thing. And I was like, thanks, a free book that I'll be using to balance wonky tables. No judgment. And by knowing what your why and what your goal is, it helps narrow everything down. So I can critically look at all the different projects I'm doing and say, okay, is this doing X? No. Okay, then I probably shouldn't be doing that. And the harsh reality is we don't have time to do all the things that we want to do in the world. So the question that I do often ask myself when I'm coming to, like, you know, which fiction project should I do? Which non-fiction project should I do? X, Y, Z. One of the questions brings back our old podcast favorite, Deathbed Dan. Deathbed Dan. And I kind of in that moment just say, like, what projects will I be most upset about not having done if I get to that point and I look back and go, okay, I should have done that. And you'll never truly know the answer because you only know what you know in the moment. But what can you take the most pride and confidence in going, okay, this is the first thing I need to do.
Cool.
Sweet. Okay. Well, we will end it there. And me and Sam are going to speak for the next 3 hours and have a lengthy conversation.
That's probably
yeah. But yeah, just to remind people, the Activated Authors website design service is now officially live. So if you want a really awesome, bumping, super cool website, then go over to activatedauthors.com/websites, and you can find out all the information over there. Sam, is there anything you want to shout about?
No, don't think so. Is there? You're looking at me like I've got something.
No,
I don't think I do.
No,
I've got a little sword that puts my hair up. I like it.
It's not an up the one.
Huh?
It's not an up the one.
It's not. No.
No.
Are you kidding me?
So we will leave it there this week. A massive thank you to you, the listeners, for tuning in. We appreciate you and the time you choose to spend with us each and every week. As always, if you're looking to level up your writing and activate your author career, head on over to activatedauthors.com, find out all about our community, our resources, and everything else that we've got going on. One more time from myself and from Sam, we will see you next week.
I'd just very quickly like to say that, considering my question, asking me if I've got anything to promote is a bit of a dick move. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Activate your energy.